What sets Impact apart from other fluid suppliers?
We are different than most other fluid suppliers. The way we approach the market is we are a fluid manufacturer. So we supply fluids, but we're the only ones really that look at the whole ecosystem of what fluid does in a facility, in a stamping facility per se, where we look at waste areas, we look at overuse, we look at everything that the fluid touches during the process, and then we offer fluid saving solutions. So instead of just coming in and saying, we have a great fluid, here, let's try it and let's change, we actually involve ourselves in the people's business and help them actually save money along the way.
As a fluid supplier, it may seem contradictory that you promote fluid reduction. What drives your passion for this?
I've been in the business now for 30 years, and prior to that, I was always myself personally, very environmentally conscious. Even as a little kid, I remember writing a great story when I was in fourth grade about Ralph Nader's book at the time about environmental. So my mind has always been focused on that. So when I came into the industry, out of a completely different industry, I noticed a lot of waste, and I felt that it was wrong. So that, along with the people that I've coupled with, suppliers, the fluid suppliers, the application equipment, I've always put myself together with people that have that ability to reduce fluid and save the environment at the same time.
How does Impact Fluids foster a culture of continuous improvement within the organization?
We operate on a process in our business where we meet regularly. And not only do we talk about how we can run our business better, but we talk about what we can do to continually improve our customers' businesses. So in that, woven through that is our fluid savings and fluid reduction process. So we train everybody on it, including the people that actually answer the phones, work in the warehouse. Everybody is passionate about fluid reduction.
Can you share a success story that reflects the collaborative approach your team takes with customers?
One that comes to mind is a local company that we worked with for years, and it took a gradual time to get them to understand what we do. We earned their business because of the fluid, but it took them a while for us to continually show that we were willing to come out for even the smallest issue that might help them reduce their fluid usage or do what they want to do, like apply better, or we've got this question. And I think what became over this last couple of years is a partnership. They understood that we were there for them regarding anything to do with fluids and started to really grow. And now we do everything for them.
What are some of the core values that drive your business decisions?
Well, the core values of our business, and that drives our decisions, are we work as a team. It's really important that everybody works together. We're not a huge company, but we have a high level of communication and team effort together. Positivity is critical. We want to make sure everybody here enjoys what they do, but also works hard. And that's the next one, which is work ethic, hardworking. And lastly, it's really open communication is critical with both internally so that we solve issues. And then externally, we're very open with our customers and making sure if we've got issues, we tell them. Other things are very open with our customers.
What is the most common issue you see customers experiencing that leads to inefficient fluid management?
I would say it starts a lot in application. It's a broad problem in our customers when we go into a potentially new customer. Most of it is they're not in control of how they apply the fluid, and in turn, everything else comes from that.
Why would one use a spray system over a roller system and vice versa?
We would say that unless there's a real estate issue, unless there's no room to put a roller system, that would be the only time I would use a spray system. Spray systems tend to, they do a great job of applying the fluid, but they get abused, meaning they are overused. If you're going to try and put fluid on, say, a 24-inch wide piece of stock with spray nozzles, you're going to spray over that 24 inches to make sure you get all 24. Whereas if you put a roller and do a good roller, you'll just get it on that stock, both top and bottom. So there's a lot of reasons to go with roller.
Are all fluids made equal? What are some key differences between a lower versus a higher quality fluid?
I would say the word I use a lot is guts. It's just a slang word for meaning that the byproducts, the additives that are in the product, there's quality issues. Some are lower quality. Some are higher quality. There's the type of additives that are used for the metalworking fluids. And what it does is if you have a lower quality or don't have the right type of additives in the product, then the downstream issues that customers can have, it may form the part all right, but you may have downstream issues with welding, cleaning, things like that are really cost additives to a typical stamping company.
How do the specific characteristics of your fluids contribute to improved performance in metalworking applications?
We don't have the cheapest fluid. We don't make the cheapest fluid, and there's a reason for that. We don't want to be a company that has to be in your facility solving fluid issues. We want to make sure what we sell you is going to be a fluid that works the best. And so what we do is we put the highest quality additives in there. We make sure that we understand your process, forming process, but also what you do with that part afterwards, so that we give you the right fluid, not only for being able to form that product properly, but then to look at what's happening afterwards. Like I mentioned, welding, is it difficult to weld through? We don't want that. Is it difficult to clean off? We don't want that. Is it being painted or powder coated? All those things are important. We need to understand that in the process before we give you a recommendation.
What considerations go into formulating fluids for different metalworking processes?
We do a lot of specialty formulations, and when we do that, we look at everybody's application uniquely. And not only do we look at the difficulty of the forming or what's happening in the forming of that part, but we also look at what's happening downstream. And what I mean by that is what happens when the part is finished, when it's stamped. What happens next? Does it go into welding? Then we need to have a part that is clean enough to weld through so you don't have poor welding. There may be issues with cleaning. What are you doing with the part? Is it just going to be stamped, sent to the automotive manufacturer and then put on the vehicle? Or is it going to be painted? And painting can be very delicate. If you can't clean the fluid off, then you've got an issue, and that's a much bigger issue than not being able to form a part. So we look at the whole life cycle of that part to where it's delivered to the end user.
In what ways do your products cater to the unique requirements of the automotive manufacturing process?
I would say a couple ways. One is we have products that are, it's important that we have products that are automotive approved, and we represent Fortec Products, who has automotive approval for almost every automotive manufacturer. And that's one critical thing. We also create products that are built for high production. We need to have fluids, like I mentioned earlier, I talked about quality of the fluid. You need to have a high quality fluid in automotive because with the amount of volume of parts that are made for the automotive industry, you don't want to have issues popping up in between parts that, because of the fluid, are causing quality issues with that part. They want to be able to not have any issues fluid-wise and deliver it without any problems.
How does Impact Fluids adapt its solutions for different industries with its unique needs?
I would say that there are certain industries that have unique requirements when it comes to approved fluids. Automotive, for instance, needs approval if you're supplying directly to a OEM car manufacturer, and we have those approvals in stamping. You have medical. You have certain products are approved for that, and we have the Hangsters product line for that. And then we have sometimes in aerospace is the same thing. Hangsters is a leading supplier for the aerospace and the medical industry, and that's why we have that, so that we can offer products that have already been approved by those suppliers.
Isn't fluid just fluid? What makes certain fluids unique and more applicable to certain industries or applications?
Fluid is not just fluid. Anybody that's in the industry knows that, but it's such a niche industry that most people outside don't really understand that. But what makes fluids unique goes back to what we already discussed, which is the guts of the product. What's the product made of? A fluid that is designed to form aluminum is not the same as a fluid often that is designed for stainless steel or cold rolled steel. There are unique differences. There are products that reach both of them. And that's part of understanding what the customer needs are, is what kind of materials do you use? Do you use aluminum, stainless steel, steel across the board? Then we design products that are good for all of those and do all of those well. But if you only do aluminum, there may be a specific product that's great for that product and isn't so good for steel, but you don't do steel. So those are some of the things that make up a good fluid supplier, is understanding, asking the questions on depth of what's most important to you and what do you process.
How does the fluid life cycle analysis process work, and what benefits does it offer to customers?
The fluid life cycle analysis is our unique approach. It's something we've put together over the last 20 years, and it goes to actually looking at the whole ecosystem of fluid when it comes in the door, from a truck, and when it leaves out the door from a waste truck. Everything that it touches in that time that it's there, we call the ecosystem. The fluid life cycle analysis looks at every one of the steps that it goes through. And what we do in that process is we look for waste. And there's not just obvious waste that's on the floor. There's lots of other areas where waste goes. And so we look at every particular waste area and open a report to a customer after we're done, after our in-depth analysis, and show them where the waste is and what the costs are that they're incurring because of that waste.
How do you ensure ongoing training and reviews to keep fluid usage optimized as operations evolve?
It's a partnership between us and our customer. We always say that we need a champion at our customer that's there, that understands the value of what we're providing, because we're not going to be there every day. We're going to be there on a regular basis to be able to look at how they're doing in the process, because we'll give them a plan and say, this is what we want you to work on. That plan has a timeline on it. So there's things to do to reduce that waste so we can get to where you need to be. What you're asking is, what do we do afterwards? Well, afterwards is that ongoing training with new people. It's also us being there and doing regular reviews with the customer to say, listen, you were doing great in this area, but we've seen you guys slack off and we're starting to see waste. What can we do to solve that? So we don't just rely on our customers to manage the process after we go through the fluid life cycle analysis and the plan. We actually work with them regularly, ongoing, to make sure that it stays that way.
Every company is different, but if you could tell stamping operation leaders one thing to help them have a more efficient fluid management process, what would it be?
Application. That is where the predominance of waste is. We see it every time we go in. And most of the time, it's because they're overspraying onto the die. They're using significantly more. When I say that, I mean 50, 60, sometimes 80% more than they need to, because there's only so much room. When you think about what a stamping process is, that's a die, bottom half, top half, and a sheet of metal. And they're forming it into call it a cup. That sheet of metal is, 1/10 of an inch thick. The space between the die and the metal is significantly less than that. So there's no room for all the excess fluid. But where does it go? It oozes out and goes out. So if you can put it on efficiently and not put it all over the place when you're applying it, there's a significant room for savings. And so application for sure.
How has the industry evolved since the merger of Great Lakes Industrial Service, Curtis Fluids, and Advanced Metalworking Solutions?
I would say the industry has evolved mostly. We've gone through a difficult period in employment. Most everybody, not just manufacturing, but where we are in manufacturing, has seen a significant reduction in the people that they have available to work. And what happens is the people that we work with, which are the manufacturing engineers, the plant managers, the people that are in charge of making that factory work, have much less time to manage the things that they have to manage. And so when we come in and offer our ability to help them reduce their fluid and help them physically do it and then keep them on task to do that, it's been quite a benefit for our customers to be able to rely on us. So in the past, it was more just a transactional operation. I'll buy it from you, we'll manage it, don't worry. Now we're seeing a lot more, yeah, please help us with it. We just don't have the time to focus on it.
What trends do you foresee in the metalworking fluid industry in the coming years?
Consolidation is what I would answer right away to that. Like any industry, bigger is better, and we're seeing that in our industry. In that consolidation, what's happening is the expertise of field representatives and internal chemists and things like that is kind of going away like COVID did. We're seeing a diminishment in expertise. Not as many people in the younger generations are coming into the chemical industry, especially the little niche that we have in metalworking fluids. So there's a diminishment of expertise. So that trend lends itself to somebody like us that's continuing to train, continuing to move in that fluid expertise. And you're going to have people in the field that have that expertise going forward. But we see it losing that expertise.
Can you share a specific example where impact fluids significantly improved a customer's bottom line through fluid optimization?
Large manufacturer in Michigan, this has been a few years ago, they had a couple issues. They were using too much fluid, but two, they were also seeing downstream issues with being able to paint a part after it was stamped, and they were trying not to wash it. So how we approached it was, well, when we did our fluid life cycle analysis, we noticed a lot of waste. And with that waste, we saw a lot of fluid on the part because of that. So not only on the floor and everywhere else where we could save it, but they were just putting way too much on the part. And so we went and approached them with a different type of fluid and a different type of application system, a roller application system that would put just the right amount on top and bottom to be able to get the process done. And in that case, we saved them 70% of their fluid usage. And because we put less on, we were able to get the process done with less fluid, but at the same time, they didn't have that fluid on there when they're trying to clean. They didn't have the pool of fluid. Give you an example, it was like a box that they were testing us on. So stamping a box out with an open bottom. The fluid would puddle up in that area, and when they go to have it painted, they'd have a pool there that had to be cleaned out, and that paint wouldn't stick. So by putting a nice uniform amount that wouldn't pool, they in turn were able to make that part, and we're in their business and have had it ever since.
How do you measure success in terms of both cost savings and environmental impact for your customers?
Most of our customers are committed to environmental improvement. They work with ISO 14001 as the quality plan that most of especially the automotive manufacturers work underneath. And what we do is not only is it the fluid usage that we save, that's where we do the actual cost reduction. So in the example I gave of where we saved 70%, we save them 70% off their fluid costs. So if it was $100,000, they're now spending $30,000. Well, not only does that save them the cost there, but when it comes to the impact on the environment, it's the waste. Every manufacturing facility, any fluid they use is put into a waste facility, or a waste tank. And that tank is then pulled out by a waste hauler on a regular basis. That waste has to be dealt with. And they get credit for reducing their waste in the ISO 14001. So it's not just a cost savings across the board. It's they actually get credits and improve their position in the environment.
What feedback have you received from customers regarding the long-term benefits of your continuous fluid reduction process?
Several things. One is the commitment that we have to continuously improve. They appreciate the fact that we're not just there to sell them the fluid, that we're there for the lifetime. And we've been able to continually look at areas and keep them on task. So they appreciate that. They appreciate the fact that we can do a lot of the work on the front end with the fluid life cycle analysis and be able to give them data that shows what the reductions can be if they choose our path, so that they can make decisions on data. And most importantly, they like us because of the cost savings. For us to be able to be a fluid supplier, provide good fluids, but provide it at a lower overall cost because we're reducing.
What are some benefits of partnering with a smaller company like Impact instead of a larger fluid supplier?
Service. One of our key pillars is service. We know that we're not the biggest supplier out there, so we know that we aren't going to earn our business based on an international or national reputation. The other key is we work hard. Our work ethic. One of our other pillars is hard work ethic. We want to work hard to not only earn their business, but to maintain it. Let's say a stamping facility that buys $50,000, $100,000 worth of fluid is a really important customer to us. To a conglomerate that's a much larger entity, that size businesses, they have hundreds of them, thousands of them. They're not as critical. They're critical to us, so therefore we treat your business, we treat our customers' business like they're our own, because we want to keep them for a lifetime.
What is something about the metalworking fluid industry that would make a great trivia question?
I would say, who is the only company in the metalworking fluids industry that has the expertise in fluids, but also fluid application and mixing?
Who is it?
Impact Fluids.